So you're thinking about renting a car from Turo, but you're not sure whether you should buy the protection plan. Today, I'm going to solve that problem for you. First, let's talk about what Turo is. Turo is a car sharing service, much like Uber, but for cars. The great thing about Turo is you have a much wider selection of vehicles to choose from. You also don't have the surprise of showing up somewhere thinking you're going to get a family-size SUV, but all they have left are compact cars. So let's move on to the protection plans, the reason you're here. What Turo offers is they're very careful to not call it insurance because technically it's not insurance. It's a contract that a guest signs with Turo to say, hey, if anything happens, I'm liable for damage on anything like that. It's broken up into two parts. The first part is called physical damage, and it's important to note that physical damage does not mean interior or mechanical damage. And then the second part is liability coverage. Liability in insurance terms really is the other guy. The way to think about it is if you hit someone else's car, the insurance company will not pay you, it pays the other guy. So this is purely for whatever damage you do to someone else or someone else's property. So there's the two parts, physical damage, liability coverage. So as a guest in a Turo vehicle, you're responsible for any damage done to the vehicle. That includes collision damage, which is colliding with another car, comprehensive damage, which is colliding with something that's not a car, a deer, mailbox, that kind of thing. And you are responsible for theft. And this is regardless of who's at fault. So if you buy these protection plans and you are using them, they will not find out who's at fault. You are purely on the hook to pay whatever is in this protection plan, with some caveats, which we'll get to. So the four options you have through Turo protection plans are as follows. The first one is what's called their Premier plan. This plan can be expensive. It inherently is expensive. You know, I'm not going to say can be. It is expensive. It can be up to 100% of the price, basically doubling the price of your trip. But what does it cover? The great thing about the Premier plan is there's no out-of-pocket expenses. So if you collide with a car, if you hit a mailbox, if the car disappears, if it's stolen, you have no out-of-pocket expenses. The last thing to note on the Premier plan is this is not available on vehicles over $60,000 market value and only on some vehicles above $25,000. So if you're getting a inexpensive car, a 98 Toyota Echo, then you'll be able to probably get that Premier plan. But if you're getting a Ferrari, you probably, I'm not going to say probably, you can't get the Premier plan. So also, if you're under 21, you're not allowed to get the Premier plan. You can kind of see they're playing the risks there. Number two is their standard plan. This is available on all vehicles at all age ranges. The price here is 40% of your trip price. So if you're paying $1,000 to rent Chrysler Pacifica for the week, then you're going to pay $400 for this coverage. So what this covers is a $500 out of pocket. That's it. So what happens is if you back into a mailbox, you will be charged $500 from Turo. You'll pay that money. They'll deal with the it's not a claim, but technically getting the mailbox fixed and everything. And if it only costs $300 to get that mailbox fixed, then you'll actually get your $200 back. But it is important to note that the second something happens, it's $500 to Turo. The next one is their minimum plan. Again, open to all vehicles and all ages. The only difference between the standard plan and the minimum plan is that you pay up to $3,000 instead of $500. If you do get in an incident, you will be charged the $500 from Turo initially, and then after that, it will be refunded if it's there. The important thing to note here is that if the vehicle is undrivable, then they'll immediately charge you $3,000, and the price for that is 15% of your trip price. So again, $1,000 trip, paying $150 for that minimum plan. So the last option is to decline coverage altogether. And there is no limit here. Obviously, you will pay out of pocket for whatever the damage is. The way it works, though, is you will be charged $500 immediately, no matter what the situation is, and then Turo will then ask you for the remainder of the damages after the fact, unless the vehicle is undrivable, in which case $3,000 again, much like the minimum plan. It's important to note here that you will be responsible for any reasonable repairs to the vehicle, all the way up to the price of the actual cash value of the vehicle. So what's actual cash value? Important insurance term to know. The definition for ACV, or actual cash value, is replacement cost, which is how much that car costs to buy minus depreciation. Best way to think about it is if you were to go sell a vehicle on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, that price is the actual cash value, more or less. So the liability coverage also goes in line with each of those 4 plans. And again, liability coverage meaning paying for the other person. So bodily injury and property damage to the other person that you were in an accident with. The coverage here, the coverage limits, or the price they'll pay for the Premier plan is $750,000. The minimum plan is going to be whatever the state minimum is in your state, usually $25,000 or $50,000 total. And then that's the same for both the standard and the minimum. Then if you decline coverage, then there's no liability coverage. One thing to note here is that the liability coverage can be offered as a separate thing. And if you are renting a vehicle from a commercial host, which means there are some businesses that host cars on Turo, they're basically just using Turo as their platform to rent vehicles, then they will actually offer the liability coverage separately from Turo's protection plans here. My recommendation is to treat it as if it's the same thing, which we'll get into next. Now that you know the options that lay in front of you and what Turo is, to answer the question of should you get a protection plan is difficult to answer. So when it comes to normal rental cars, most insurance policies just extend whatever your auto policy is to that rental car. But when it comes to car sharing services, it is purely on a policy by policy basis. In the same company, you could have 2 policies that are overall identical. However, one covers car sharing and one does not. So it really is imperative that you reach out to your insurance company to find out if they will cover a Turo rental. The big thing you're looking for is car sharing, not car rental. And if you know what vehicle you're going to be renting, it may be worth letting them know what that's going to be. So what you'll do is you'll reach out to them either through email or chat. I personally recommend doing it that way because you're going to want to make sure that you have records on file of who you talked to and what they said. Because there is a strong possibility that once you go and rent that Ferrari, then get in a wreck with it, then the insurance company is going to say, whoa, 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 you drive a Corolla, not a Ferrari. And they're really not going to want to pay for all of the repairs to a Ferrari. So keep that in mind. If you are renting a high value vehicle, it may be worth it to go ahead and splurge for that, either the standard or minimum coverage, just to kind of make you feel better. I will make note here that your insurance agent may not have this answer. They'll have to actually go to underwriting to get the answer that you need. So there you go. I hope it helped. I hope that you can kind of understand how the Turo protection plans work and whether you actually need to do it or not. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with more car insurance, car ownership, home ownership, really just trying to help live a better life. That's what we're here for. So again, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Yeah, we'll see you next time.